Our contract with this backwater place is just about to come to an end. And, well, thank God. I don't mind a tropical vacation every once in a while, but it's not very glamorous, considering we're here to work. Anyway, one last thing before the defense minister releases our contract, and we move on to bigger and better. Hitman team, you haven't gotten all that much airtime this deployment, so you're taking point with this operation.
We have confirmed the location of the Burlock Privateer headquarters off the coast on the southwestern edge of the Jesta Island chain. They're a mercenary group like us who unfortunately have turned to outright piracy. According to surveillance data, we have determined that they are the culprit of the recent high-profile hijacking of the Federation-registered cargo ship May Lynx. The May Lynx is supposedly carrying volatile cargo belonging to the Federation's Department of Global Energy and Sustainability Office. Nothing specific from the Federation contact about the cargo, however, our orders are to retrieve it if possible, or to neutralize it if we can't. Attempts to negotiate for it have turned up with nothing, so we're going in. Hitman team, you are to approach the island from the south along with support and establish control over the area. Your objective is to eliminate any surrounding anti-air and resistance on the island. After that, secure an LZ for our operator group Ronin to ascertain the cargo. Once Ronin lands, maintain air superiority until the next stage of the operation is determined. Be aware that the Burlocks have other Merc pilots on tap, so enemy reinforcements could be a factor.
Normally, we'd stay out of contact with any Federation-adjacent taskings. But this is the last thing we need to do for our current contract, so I'll let it slide. 2 birds with 1 stone. Easy enough, right? Now get to work. Dismissed. Sicario is moving west, ladies and gents. Information coming out of country has been spotty, but, well, let's just say there's a demand for people of our pedigree. The Federation's been eyeing a takeover of Cascadia's resources for years, as far as I remember. And it seems the Cascadians weren't going to take it lying down, based on what info has been leaked out. For those of you who don't know, Cascadia is a nation along North America's western seaboard, one of the largest on Earth, and one of the most prosperous due to its abundant natural resources and geothermal energy deposits. I've never been, but I hear it's beautiful. A country with limitless energy at its fingertips. I know some of us who were born out here in the periphery can't even imagine it, but I'm sure this hits closer to home for some of you. Moving along. There's a communications blackout both in and out of the country. And as far as the international news goes, nothing is going on except a few riots. Based on the mercenary networks, however, that is a complete lie. A full-blown conflict is proceeding. We've reached out and were given a rendezvous by a Cascadian group called the Independence Force, the main anti-Federation group recognized by the national government. I presume the Federation has the borders on lockdown to stop people like us from coming in, so stay on our toes. If we get found out by a patrol, we'll send one of our flights off to take care of them.
Sicario is moving northwest towards a rendezvous point set by Cascadia's Independence Force. We don't expect any heavy resistance given our route of ingress, however, each of our fighter groups will be pulling shifts to preserve fuel and ammo. Hitman team, you will be responsible for the last leg of the journey, which will take us over into Cascadia proper. Be prepared to intercept border patrols.
I know some of you might not be too enthused to be fighting the Federation, so I invite you to leave with what you have of your contract. You'd only slow us down.
Hello, Sicario. I'm Captain Griffiths, otherwise known as Stardust. From now on, I'll be your point of contact with the Cascadian Independence Force. I was a National Guard pilot when it all went down, and now I'm working with you. We're pressed for time, so listen up. Cascadia's prosperity, our natural bounty, has always gone to support the world. For the last few decades, we have done this by our partnership with the Pacific Federation, providing aid and infrastructure to the less fortunate internationally. The Federation, however, in recent years has used the resources we provided to forcefully expand by conquest and military strength. We could not let our cordium or geothermal deposits fuel this war machine. Cascadia as a nation sought independence from the Federation outright, in order to prevent the Federation from imperially expanding further. Unfortunately, they turned against us. They have seen fit to unify and federalize Cascadian infrastructure as a whole. When we resisted, they turned the country inside out. We refuse to let that stand. So, here's the plan for you mercenaries right now.
In northern Cascadia, Rosedower AFB was a joint base used by both the Cascadian National Guard and the Federation. When hostilities took off, however, the Federation seized the base from the National Guard. Your objective today is to take back the base into our hands. Hitman Team will lead aerial operations, wiping out any anti-air defenses. Circus, our transport aircraft carrying Sicario's airborne troop element, will then vector in and drop onto the base to secure it.
Take care not to damage the facilities too much during the attack. Sicario and other mercenary elements will be using this base afterwards. I'm sure you want to operate from an actual base anyway, as opposed to some dirt strip. So let's get rolling. Listen up. We're about to get started. A lot of mercenaries from around the world have made their way into the country, as I'm sure you've seen. However, Sicario is currently one of the only groups that can throw around enough fighters to aid in the air war. Cascadia's National Guard was quickly scattered and taken out by Federation military forces when we originally tried to force them out of Cascadia. They came without mercy, eliminating more than 30% of our active forces. These last few weeks have been disastrous, and we're on the verge of capitulating into a full-blown guerrilla war. We'd like to avoid this, and because of that, Sicario will be deployed immediately to several of our units currently in need of support.
Hitman Team, you will be deployed to an agricultural area to the south. One of the Independence Force's surviving battalions has been driven there by a Federation offensive. Presently, a collection of Allied officers preside over a rather notable amount of manpower. The Federation is currently engaged using air and ground units, so a multifaceted loadout is suggested. You might catch the Federation off guard, however, anticipate retaliation in short order. Launch and lift the siege. If that battalion falls, our forces won't have enough manpower or command to organize again. Monarch and Comic, you're the only mercenary pilots on base at the moment, so this is your mission immediately. A few hours ago, the remnants of Cascadia's Coast Guard was able to board and raid a Federation battleship which ran a little too close to Cascadia's northern coasts. They have promptly christened it as the Eminent Domain. The Eminent Domain is a new battleship used by the Federation Navy. Equipped with top-of-the-line armament and an electronic warfare suite, it stuffs most of the utility of an entire battle group into its hull. The Independence Force are deploying resupply and escort ships to them ASAP, however, they need air support. We have the means to repair it and gain intelligence from disseminating whatever info computers, but it is imperative that it is escorted to safe harbor first. Hitman, take off immediately. Dismissed.
Even when I'm a mercenary, I still end up fishing. Come on, Monarch, let's go.
One of the vast advantages that the Federation has over Cascadia is their absolute control and logistics routes. Factories and states that we can't even touch are pumping out equipment and supplies for them at a pace we'll never be able to match. However, they all have to get in the country somehow. The Federation supply train is one carried out mostly by air, now that the Eminent Domain is intercepting cargo ships coming into Federation ports. Civilian traffic has remained largely the same thanks to Federation communication protocols. The reality of this conflict has been kept hidden, courtesy of the Solana communication facility in the Aitor Desert. This mission is as follows. Mercenary and Allied pilots will be dispatched to various points along the airways, knocking out Federation logistics aircraft and grinding their resupply efforts to a halt. By striking in broad daylight, we can openly challenge the Federation when they think they're safe. Remember, it's imperative that no civilians are harmed in this operation, so engage carefully.
Careful's my last name, and safety's my mom. Let's go, Monarch. I'd like to touch down before lunch.
There's nothing much I need to say to you, Sicario. Operation Blackout will be conducted entirely by you. I cannot, however, express enough how important this strike is. Commander, you have the floor.
The Ator Desert has hosted the Solana communication array for the greater part of the decade. It was a Federation project in-country that was meant to boost and maintain the communications infrastructure of Cascadia. However, during the war, it has served as a jamming and communication facility. The very basis of a unified command structure is built on the pillars of communication. If we take out this facility, it'll be like yanking the rug out right from beneath their feet. The facility is heavily defended, hosting an airbase and a ground garrison on its own. The only way we're getting boots on the ground is via a mass airdrop, followed by relentless close air support from our fighter group until the entire place is overrun. It's as simple as that. Now normally, the Independence Force would be offering some assistance, but they can't afford that now. Under any other pretense, this is a suicide mission. Even with the air corridor Monarch cleared up, there's only enough fuel for a one-way trip. So the only way we're coming back is if we take the adjoining airbase after we hit the facility. Expect heavy air and ground resistance. Pillboxes, tanks, AA, airships, the whole shebang. If we pull this off, well, let's just say we'll be handsomely rewarded. Gold or glory, gentlemen. Get to your planes. The Cascadians call this place the Devil's Sandbox. So what does that mean if we're the ones playing in it, huh? Let's go.
All pilots, listen up. I'm getting in my plane right now. So when this briefing is done, I expect to see all of you running.
All Allied air power not currently predisposed in other operations are to be scrambled immediately and make their way to the Bering Strait. In the days since the destruction of the Solana communication relay, the Federation has been disorganized and subject to our own electronic warfare countermeasures. It is because of this, our first conventional victories up and down the front lines are being reported, and the Federation is dealing with losses it hasn't had to deal with in decades. Recently, in order to improve individual unit combat effectiveness, the Federation has been discharging Cascadian-manned units and replaced them with soldiers who aren't nationals. Subsequently, many of our once misguided countrymen have defected and are providing us with invaluable intel and manpower. Earlier today, one of our patrols caught a group of transports using the cover of an Arctic storm to get unorganized and underpowered Federation units out of Cascadia, probably to regroup and redeploy later. The patrol engaged, and the Federation sent more fighters to cover them. Seeing as these transports represent the bulk of Federation forces who have experience fighting us, we did not want them to regroup, so we sent more reinforcements. Squadron leaders and base commanders on both their side and ours have been escalating force deployment ever since combat began. High-profile squadrons and our forces in theirs are currently present. This snowball effect, however, has inadvertently created, by all accounts, what is turning out to be the most expansive aerial battle in the war thus far, and is steadily falling out of control. We cannot let the Federation have any more of their forces escape and regroup, even if it means the largest furball in history.
Hitman team, an interesting hit came up on available taskings, and I don't think anyone else from Sicario's pilots or the other merc teams could take this on. So, listen up.
Independence Force victories countrywide have cascaded into each other. The Federation, now having lost a great deal of its air forces, are falling back. As their front lines fall, however, activity from the more unknown elements of the Federation here in Cascadia have started to stir. Several fishermen within the last week have reported intense bursts of light emanating from the Harkema Industrial Park off the coast. This rig is part of a naval-based private ownership property leased out to several international companies, including a firm called Icarus Armories. The Federation has recently deployed their own defenses to the rig, and, on top of that, it's manned by private security forces. Your objective is to wipe out any Federation presence on the facility, providing a distraction for Sicario's SOF to uncover what they're doing. Ronin will be clearing some of the radar buoys, giving you a way into the airspace undetected. When you make it through, be prepared for anything. We have no idea what else might be being worked on out there. The offensive operations to take back territory from the Federation has been going well with your continued support, Sicario. Your air support up and down the front has been integral in demoralizing and outright destroying enemy air superiority. All this, however, has forced the Federation to respond in overwhelming force. Our intelligence has obtained a crucial piece of information on the deployment of the Federation's main airship fleet, Task Force 1. Task Force 1's deployment to Cascadia would be overwhelming and costly to the Independence Force. A direct confrontation would be nothing less than a disaster. Thankfully for us, they're not yet in the country and are on the last leg of their journey. In the Pacific, the Kingdom of Sawaki is an associate nation of the Federation, like how Cascadia was before the war. Their islands are rich in natural resources and therefore an economic in the middle of the Pacific. Because of this, the main Federation harbor for airships on this side of the globe rests there. The plan is this. Sicarial will lead an air assault of mercenaries in, taking out the airship fleet while they're in port. We're devoting every single aerial tanker we have in order for you to reach out there. Hitman team, you'll be on point with Sicario. The port and the surrounding area is entirely a militarized industrial sector, all meant for maintaining the airship fleet and, on a lesser note, the naval forces of the Federation. This is a target-rich environment, and we expect nothing less than total dismantling of the Federation's infrastructure and force deployment capability in the entire Pacific. We're unsure on how the Kingdom of Sawaki will respond, but be on the lookout for their local air force. Some nations in alliance with the Federation might not see it our way.
These last few weeks have been victory after victory for the Independence Force. Entire front lines have either fallen or Federation troops in Cascadia. The amount of defectors and prisoners are skyrocketing with each subsequent win. We've now almost taken back every geothermal facility and key strategic point outside of our nation's urban centers. Your mission today, Hitman, make sure that the countryside will return to its rightful owners, the Cascadian people. I will be rejoining the main offensive lines in the meantime. However, I will link back up with you when the time to take Presidia is nigh.
Grimwood Coast is among one of the last of the Federation-occupied zones in the Cascadian countryside, it being a delta which a mass amount of retreating Federation manpower and equipment are exfiling through. With many falling back to Presidia through here, it is imperative that we take control of the area to prevent further manpower and firepower from retreating. The Federation is on its last legs in this region, so they've been setting fires to block our advances. Our reformed firefighting corps have been running water drops for the last 72 hours, but unfortunately the wildfires have not gone out. We cannot afford to wait any longer. Hitman team, you will provide CAS to ground forces, moving through and taking out the last of the Federation in this area, preventing it to be used as a rally point for their forces. Due to all the smoke, expect ground level visibility to be low. The terrain is dangerously deceptive. Prospero, the economic heart of this side of the world. Even the cities of Moira and Byzantium in the Federation are challenged by it. This was a city whose main purpose was to breed trade, both coming into Cascadia and coming out. It's the largest airship port in Cascadia, and when we went to war, the Federation secured it. A majority of the remaining air traffic, both military and civil for the Federation, operates out of this port. What we're looking at then is the main source of aerial power for the Federation in this war. Our objective is twofold then. The elimination of Federation air power outright, and to show the international community that by taking this city, the Federation is incompetent in protecting world interests. Shelling of the city has been ongoing throughout the last few days, weakening much of the defenses both on the ground and in the air. However, the time is now to move in and secure Prospero and its port. Ground units have already surrounded the AO and are making their way in. Hitman team, you will be tasked in making sure the Federation does not rally a proper aerial defense of the area. Federation air power has constantly been recalled to Prospero, and refitting and rearmament has ensured that there has been a constant counterattack from fighters and attackers stemming from the port. Be aware of reinforcements coming from inside and outside the AO. If this goes well, the enemy will be out of steam, and the Federation will falter when we finally come for Presidia.
We've had a really, really bad day, Stardust. You'd be making a big mistake if you told us to stay. You know that?
Listen to the lady. She's got rank on you, if you remember who she is.
Quite frankly, Major Lund, I don't give a damn who you are. And I understand. You don't want to be here. That's as true today as it was when you, Hitman, left Cascadia the first time, right?
You don't know a lick about us.
You're on our ride out of here. Either pay to come with us or go. Whatever you do, don't waste our time.
If I may make Cascadia's case, you're still contracted to Cascadia, Sicario. You have a bargain to fulfill, and quite frankly, you're worth more to us now than ever.
Look outside. You think there's a Cascadia left?
It looks worse than it is, promise. My countrymen are scattering to safe zones to shelter in place. We'll return soon enough after this hell passes. When we do, we'll need your help.
Me and my soldiers don't fight losing wars.
This war will not be lost. Not with all of you still remaining.
All of us? What do you mean? Sicario has been nearly wiped.
Perhaps. But for a man of your boss's particular persuasion, Cascadia will offer you this to rebuild.
There's nothing you can offer to get me to die for a lost cause. The Earth itself opened up to fight you. Don't you understand? Jesus Christ.
Is that enough? Is that everything you want?
A mission?
Orders, and what you need to carry it out. Go to the periphery and bring back everyone who can fight beneath your banner. For all Cascadia knows, you can just take this and run away with it, never to return. But we put our trust in you to come back with the cavalry. If not, well, I guess you'll just be the low-life mercenary that turned away when history needed him most.
You really are that desperate, aren't you? We'll see.
We won't. We have targets on the back of our head. People will come hunting us. I don't care what Kaiser does, because it doesn't involve us.
You three are our best pilots. Cascadia will protect you when this war has ended.
You're a fool for even trying to promise that. We aren't for sale. We're leaving. Go ahead and lose this war. This is your great lie in it.
And you think running will be any better for you? The Federation has got your number. And as far as I can tell, Cascadia is the only shot all of you have for living out the rest of your lives.
Send them for all I care. We're dead men walking.
Damn it, listen to yourself, woman! Even if me and Monarch let you carry out this death wish of yours, we'll still be caught up with it. Stardust here, at least it sounds like he has an alternative.
Correct.
What's that?
Why don't you take a look first, Commander Franken?
What the hell? It's not for me.
Come on, man, what is it?
Take a look for yourselves.
Is that what I think it is? Oh, shit.
You pull through for us, I will give you more than your freedoms, your lives. It'll be like as if the last 20 years never happened for you. You can have your new start, or continue your life as it is right now. But this, it'll let you do that. You'll be free. You can do whatever you want. Cascadia owes you to have this.
This deal. If we make it, if you give us, everything goes back to normal.
It's better than nothing. Hell, a whole lot better than nothing. Galaxy, you stick around with Hitman. They'll need you. I'll go out of country for a bit. Gather up an army.
Oh, come on. What the hell? Why do I get to stay?
Because I own you still. That and you'll do more good here as I go recruit.
You'll continue the fight. Keep us above ground.
Well, we'll need a base for that. Rosedower is about to be swallowed.
We're working on it. Options are slim at the moment, but...
There's a highway that never got the funds it needed out by the Daner Valleys. My dad saw it. I know how Cascadian infrastructure bills were. The section should still be there?
Aye. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. Lead the way?
You're still full of surprises, Peter.
I aim to entertain.
Well, that's it then. Hitman, I'll be seeing you.
Hitman, find your place and stand by. If those highways you say are good, we'll be sending more pilots your way to support. When the orders come down, you better be up to it.
got some interesting airmail. Looks like we've got a mission lined up.
Among the first of the Independence Force assets which we were able to recover outright from the geothermal disaster were the partisan scout units. Woods people and rangers from our parks are stranger to dangerous terrain. When combined with natives from the Dustlands or volunteers from our south, we've had ample ability to scout out scattered Federation forces still recovering. Facilities and bases that were built out of range of any notable geothermal hotspots had become rallying points for the Federation, and as our partisan scouts have observed, the largest one in this immediate region is the historic Bright Fortress and Weather Facility. Tactically, in the early stages of the war, the station was of marginal importance, often being used as a secondary base for damaged aircraft to land at and to bounce signals from the now disabled Solana Com facility. Its location in a relative geothermal safe zone, however, has made it a new rallying point for the surviving Federation forces in this area. On-the-ground intel has denoted that these forces are gearing up to renew the offensive in this area, and if they do, the Federation would have started the momentum first on reigniting this war. Hitman Team, you are to lead our surviving Allied pilots on a tactical strike on this facility, denying the Federation the first move.
So that's it, huh? Business as usual? They fly out a letter and we're going back out.
Better than sitting on concrete all day. What are you complaining about anyway? At least you're getting paid for it.
Your planes are good. Munitions and fuel all set. Hitman Team, it's your call to go up.
This is Dr. Scott Dombrowskis transmitting from the University of Presidia with an update on the geothermal activity that has wrecked our nation. As we've learned, there as a whole has erupted in varying degrees of disaster throughout, so we Cascadians alone brunt of this reprise of the Calamity. That being said, as we are at the epicenter, we have had the worst of it. That time is over now. Cordium reactivity is down to normal ambient levels in all but the most concentrated areas, and so we can expect a cessation of geothermal storms and tectonic disturbances. I advise high caution to any who would dare move from shelter or travel in affected areas, but for the most part, the natural dangers that remain will be a great deal less of an issue compared to the destructive effects from the loss of infrastructure and ongoing wildfires. However, rest assured, it's not going to get any worse.
Well, that's the word from the professor himself. Hitman, the damage this disaster did on us is not to be understated, especially on our Air Force. We're not the only ones operating out of a highway right now, and we're lucky. You're not even a full squadron. That being said, you're the most combat capable right now, and in order to rectify that, we're returning to Prospero. With as big as it is, even while damaged, it'll still serve as the best operating base for the final operations.
We've been able to get in contact with surviving scouts in order to scope out Prospero, and as far as we can tell, it is now abandoned ever since this calamity took hold. With residual effects subsiding, now is the time to pick up where we left off. Hitman Team, move into the airspace above Prospero and maintain air superiority as we move manpower and equipment in. Initial recon denotes that there is nothing in the way of any Federation ground forces in the surrounding areas or on site, so the biggest threat will come from the air. Equip your planes appropriately, wheels up in the hour.
The time is nearly upon us. Presidia is on the horizon, and the Federation is cornered like a rat in Cascadia. This is their final beast, and they are desperately trying to keep it fed.
The Independence Force is preparing for one last naval engagement before the siege of Presidia begins. For months, ever since the lockdown on aerial cargo and commerce, the Federation military in the region has used Presidian ports to assist its supply train. This only increased when Prospero was lost and the geothermal fractures were reignited. Our fleet, along with eminent domain, has tried its best to plug all the holes in our own blockade. However, the Federation has brute forced their way into having a line. The naval convoy is the Federation's only lifeline left. Once it is severed, we can choke out the considerable defenses of. However, there is also another objective to this. In Presidia's main naval harbor is the Federation's first naval battle group. Its concentration within the harbor currently represents the strongest component of Presidia's defenses. Ever since the war started, they have not moved from their position in order to reinforce the city. We intend to change that. By taking out these battle convoys, we anticipate that this fleet will have to respond in order to keep Presidia from being trapped. Independence Force naval elements not already predisposed are being rerouted to just outside of Presidian waters to throw themselves upon the naval blockade. Its destruction, replacement with our own blockade, and then the removal of the Federation's own naval force is paramount in winning this war. Support our naval forces in sinking the Federation Navy. Victory here means we save a lot of lives when the final push comes.
I brought everyone I could find. Every freedom fighter, every war junkie, every soldier of fortune. Throughout the world, Cascadia has become a beacon of rebellion against the Federation. And for that, I have gathered an army. They're no Sicario, but it's the best we've got. And the rebels will take everything they can. At first, when taking this job, I thought it was only business. That I could find my glory here. But after all they've done, what they did to us, to Sicario, blood will pay for this contract now.
We intended to keep the blockade going for at least the Federation defenders, but circumstances have forced our hand. We are moving on Presidia today.
Listen up. This is it.
With the supply lines cut and the blockade holding against any reinforcements, Presidia is the final Federation stronghold in Cascadia. Once it falls, Cascadia will be liberated. The city has been deeply entrenched against both land and air attacks. The firepower which exists there now is the sum of any units that have survived this long into the war. With no way out, their only chance at survival is to fight. We intend to meet them and then end them outright. The operation to take back Presidia will be separated into 4 cardinal parts: land, air, sea, and endgame. All combat operational ground forces will be pushing into Presidia from inland, surrounding the enemy forces. From there, they will start dismantling the resistance and taking control of the city. At sea, the eminent domain will be moving in toward the shore to provide gunnery support and wipe out the remaining naval defenders. Overhead, the last of the Federation air power and country will be out trying to inflict as much damage on the IF as possible. Once these factors are accounted for and our forces are in position, the final phase will commence. We will start moving into the city toward the port to wipe out the Federation from Cascadia once and for all. Hitman Team, you are among our most veteran elements among the Independence Force. You will be our spearhead. It is by your attacks that the offensive will conduct itself. Choose which element of the battle you want to take on and in what order. We're still trying to gather last-minute reinforcements ourselves, and scavenging what the Federation has left behind, but without your support, it will not be enough. We don't know how this battle will be won, but it ends in the complete and utter devastation of either us or them. Cascadia is our home, and Presidia is its heart. The flag that flies over it at the end will decide all of our fates.